soul. Run lads, shoot lads, give us all a go. Run lads, shoot lads, you can do it, yes. Come on Newport County, oh, bang it in the net.
Hello everybody, welcome to Taff's Word, and today is my season prediction for our beloved Newport County. Now, if you go over to our TikTok, I blind ranked how I think the division is going to go, and for the exception of one, and I have explained at the end that where I would put that one and then move everybody else up another one place, that would be about right, and where I've put us is 16th place. Straight in, I mean, I know a lot of people could just cut this video off now, or Taff thinks we're going to finish 16th and that's it, that's all I need to listen. But I think it's worth listening to the reasoning behind why I think we're going to finish that many places above where we did last season. 16th is still, for me, not where we obviously want to be. The chairman reiterated again. So I went to both Q&As this week. I went to the Hugh Jenkins and Dave Hughes one at Ronnie Parade. I also went to the Dodger the night before with Hatswell and with Mark O'Brien. My feelings about the club, any kind of negative thoughts that I may have had, I don't have as badly now. Because don't get me wrong, I'm a supporter and I'm a realist. As much as I'm still a bit of an optimist, you know, I do believe, you know, that we're always going to do better than we typically do, or where people seem to think that we're going to go. I always say, oh no, we'll do better than that. It's my obviously my optimism, maybe leading with my heart more than my head sometimes, but my head is telling me an awful lot this year. My heart was bruised last year, should we say. So my head is doing a lot of the talking now. And that there alone tells me that I feel like I'm on the right path. Because yeah, I did lead with my heart, because in my heart of hearts, I wanted what Hugh Jenkins' strategy was last season to work, and theoretically it could have if he didn't miss out on his obvious number one target. And well, it's not an obvious. It was obvious that he had a number one target. It's obvious that he missed out on that target, because it's obvious really that Nelson Jardine wasn't brought in to be the number one, possibly not even the number two. I think he was brought in as a lead coach to lead the training, to develop the style of football that Hugh Jenkins wanted us to play. Whoever the number one was going to be was possibly going to bring their number two in and leave the training to Jardine, and he would then be responsible for the man management of the players, the organisation of everything, and obviously tactical selection and tactical application and team selection. That's what I was trying to say. There we go. So yeah, so I think that is where we were last season, and I think a lot of the issues came from the top down. I think there are players there individually that shone. A lot of them shone at different times in different places, some more often than others, but the fact that these players were able to shine at all tells me there's a player in there. Because I've always said, good players can have a bad game, but bad players can't have a good game. If you're not good enough for this level, you'll not stand out in any way, shape or form. Some of the players that we have now, who were there last season, did shine at some point, more than once as well. So like, you can get lucky on a one-off, but you typically find that it's a one-off. You can decline as a footballer, be the level, and decline and be left behind, because I always say football evolves. And if you're left behind, you know, you are going to look poor in comparison to everybody else around you. Yeah, so with all that in mind, from what I heard, so a lot of what Hatswell said was sort of validated by what Dave said the night after. So you could tell they're singing from the same hymn sheet to start with. The message was, we're going to be very difficult to beat. Nobody is going to outwork us. And the preseason has been a lot about fitness levels. Fitness levels so we can play to a high level for 90 minutes. So when I say a high level, I don't mean obviously, you know, top level. I'm talking high intensity. So that there alone tells me that we're going to be very difficult to beat. Which is why, if we're going to be a difficult team to beat, we have to be beat far more often than not to be relegated. And that alone tells me that I don't think we're going to get relegated. If we're going to be that hard to beat and we're going to work that hard, you're going to have games where it's going to come off well. You're going to have games where it doesn't. But you're going to find it's going to be kind of like a good sort of equal split. I think we're more than capable of winning at least 15, 16 games and drawing at least 15, 16 games this season. Well, I think that's a bit... So if we say 15, 15, 16, so 15 wins puts us on 45 points, 15 draws then puts us another 15 on that, so that puts us on 60 points. So 60 points puts us in and around about 16th. So I think, yeah, so if we say 15 wins, 15 draws, 16 losses, is something in which I think, it's going to be an equal split, because there's going to be some really good teams we're going to be going away to, and they're just going to be too good. It doesn't matter how hard you work. If someone's just too good, they're too good. I think we'll catch a few of the top teams on an off day, maybe. I think we'll have a couple of nice away days. I think our away record will be a bit better. Our home record needs to be better, although our home record is what saved us last year. A lot of the people that say, oh, Nick Townsend won us 20 points on his own last season, yeah, I'd go along with that. But I think the goalkeeper situation, we got two very good goalkeepers there for our level. Is Nick Townsend better than League Two? Clearly not, because he's in the National League. If he's chosen that for money, then that's his own problem. But at the end of the day, if he was worth a top-end League Two team or a League One team, they would have paid the money for him, because he is obviously of that level. I think there's some players who were sort of mid-table League Two, and there are some clubs that haven't got the budget for them. So with the lack of FFP, there'd have been a bit more money to offer, so they've taken the decision to go down. But if it was a top-end League Two or a League One club, they would have had the funds to fund the move for them if they felt they were at that level. Nick Townsend was not at that level for any of those teams up there, which is why he's now in the National League, which is why we can maybe take him off that pedestal we keep putting him on, and put, the fact that we have two League Two standard goalkeepers. One was at League One last season and played lots of games in League One last season. And we do have a goalkeeping coach who comes highly, highly recommended and well endorsed. So I'm happy enough with that. Wayne Hatswell is Wayne Hatswell, and we know him, and we know full well that he is not going to allow any slacking. I thought David wasn't as vocal as he needed to be. He didn't sound nasty enough on the side. If I was playing and I heard him shouting to me, work, without, fuck off, mate. Wayne Hatswell on the other side, on the other hand, is, oh shit, I better pull my finger out. You know what I mean? So, with that in mind, Hatswell also absolutely loaded Dave Hughes with praise. He said that he referred to him as exceptional. His football mind is baffling with how much he knows. He's a model professional, and he's obviously managing the lads well. He's instilled an attitude, a work ethic attitude, to the fact that they've pushed them to their limits in the pre-season and they haven't had any complaints. So that tells me that there was obviously a very good attitude in the squad. Obviously, we saw the video of Camwa walking around with all the guys, and they all seem in high spirits. They all seem like a good group. They all seem to get on well. So, there's going to be some harmony there if there's a good attitude there and a work ethic and a good fitness level. To be honest with you, from what I saw from a lot of our players last season, if that is instilled within some of those players, plus the additions and the ones to come still as well, there will be others. There has to be others, especially midfield, especially with the injury to Keenan Patton. They will have to bring someone in, obviously, to step in for that. Even if it's a 6-month loan, which, if they're successful, they get that extended. It's quite simple. So, yeah, with all that in mind, I think some of the more standout younger players from last season are going to have break 8 seasons now. So I think it could be a good season for Joe Thomas, Cameron Antwi, Kai Whitmore. I think we'll see a lot more from Bobby Camwa. I think it's going to be a season for Matt Baker where he really steps up. I think it's going to be a season for the likes of Jaden Warner, and I think for Kieran Brennan. I think Tom Davis has a lot to say about that left back spot. Although Glennon, for me, Glennon's energy and movement looked really good in the games that I saw him. And to be honest with you, in all the pre-season games, the goals that were set were mainly physical. They were about distance covered on the pitch rather than goals scored on the pitch, because a pre-season game gets you 0 points in the league and doesn't send you to the next round of any cup competitions. A pre-season game means absolutely nothing. It is a match situation where match running is very different to running in general. There's a lot of stopping, turning, twisting, slow to fast, reacting, at the point where you have to run that bit quicker, knowing when you can jog and conserve some energy. But ultimately, they wanted some running goals. We want you to cover X amount of distance in this game. And we want your heart rate to go to a specific, because obviously they're going to be wary of these monitors. We want your heart rate to exceed a certain number of beats per minute during this game, because we know you're working hard. But then what you'll find is a correlation between distance covered and average heart rate. And what you'll find is where the average heart rate may slowly come down, the distance covered goes up, and that shows an increase in physical fitness. So that's where I think the goals are set in these games. What distance have you covered? What was your average heart rate? Is the average heart rate slowly come down? Has the distance covered slowly gone up? And there you go, there's your correlation. I think there is a lot of individual ability in the team. Like I said, when we've seen Courtney Baker-Richardson play before, we know he's capable of scoring goals. We know he's capable of setting goals up, being part of a strike partnership. And it looks like they're going to be a strike partnership. There was a lot of 3 up top last season. It looks as though we're going to see 2 up top this season, which fits into Courtney Baker-Richardson's hands perfectly well. So, Camwa, yep, we know what he's capable of doing. Reindorf looks like he's a very similar player to Camwa, but he is highly, like I said, recommended by Cardiff City supporters who've seen him play. I think Jed Garner is a player that's capable of pulling things out of the hat. And not to forget, we've got a Welsh international in Matt Smith in the heart of our midfield. Although I do feel midfield is the area that needs further strengthening. I think another one option for up top, and I think we're set. I think there's some loan players to go out to cover some of that budget. But defence, I think we're set. We have 2 for right wing back. We have 2 for left wing back. We have 3 for keeper, although I think Carney goes out on loan, unless he's on such a low wage, he's waiting in the wings to be the backup keeper to cover any potential injuries or suspensions. So I think there's a lot to look into in comparison to last season. I think a lot of last season was down to the management. Picking the wrong team, making the wrong subs, game management was poor. Initial tactical setup was wrong for the team they were playing, and I think we came unstuck for a lot of those reasons last season. I think with the new management, I do feel as though Wayne Hatswell is valued. Dave Hughes equally spoke highly of Wayne, as well as obviously Wayne spoke highly of Dave. I think Dave will be trusted to lead the line, and I think Hatswell will obviously, he's not a yes man. He'll tell Dave if he thinks, look, I understand what you're saying here, but this won't work in League 2. I think Lee Kendall has a lot more to offer than just being a goalkeeping coach as well. Obviously, David Pipe is still in and amongst it. David Pipe was in amongst it last year. What kind of say he was allowed to have, we don't know. And what kind of say he will have this time, I don't know. The fact that fitness has been key for the pre-season, I'd imagine David Pipe was involved quite highly. But to what extent, I don't know. But if David Pipe was involved in fitness, we know, obviously, by his physique, that he knows what he's frigging on about. So I'd like to think that when you look at that blend of everything, everything that I've taken into account, everything that I've just spoken about, I think quite rightly we're going to be difficult to beat, because we're going to be fit enough to play at a high intensity for a full match, we're going to have the attitude that, the old Newport County attitude of fight to the end. That'll be there. Hatswell was there, on 3 different occasions. Hatswell's been there, to be part of that kind, a successful Newport County team. He was part of it with Justin, He was even part of it briefly with Robury, but obviously Flynn was the main era. And obviously before he came back as a coach with Justin, he was a player for us. And he was part of a team after they got promoted from Conference South. I mean, he's going to play a massive role. And Dave Hughes talks a good game. Time will tell whether he's the right man or not. But it feels different with him. Robury, I think I've covered this before anyway. Robury, Hudson, Jardim and Flynn are the only ones who we've given their first real shot with. He's only ever worked with Flynn, but Flynn had a tie with the club and he was brought in extreme circumstances and he had to hit the ground running, and he did. I think he learnt a lot in that time, but he also had Lenny Lawrence guiding him along the way. Robury was the main man, Hudson was the main man, and Jardim was the main man without the guidance. So I think Hughes is the main man without the guidance, but he does have Hatswell there. I think it's going to be a success. I think for this first season, we want to improve on last season. We improve on last season, and it starts from there. We improve in the right way, make Newport a desirable place for someone to want to come to play again, because it used to be. We had a bit of pull before, we haven't quite got that pull, but the fact that we've attracted someone like Matt Smith, for example, is great. Reindorf went on loan to League One, talks about his attitude, but attitude is something that can be corrected quite quickly. Skill issue is something that can't. Reindorf has got the skill, but the attitude was bad. He will learn from that. He'll be like, mess that opportunity up. Can't mess this one up. I have to impress at this club. My only worry is that he's that good for us that Cardiff think, if they're struggling in League One and they need a bit of firepower, they may bring him back to pop him up top there. But, like we're going into Rhys Healey territory there. And I don't think he's quite Rhys Healey yet. But we'll see. But, yeah, I mean, look, I've covered an awful lot. I'd like to think, you've seen a lot of the optimistic side. But the thing is, when you look at the negative side, the only negative really is have we really strengthened the squad, the ability in the squad? No, but did we really need to? That's the question. Did we really need to strengthen the ability, or do we have the budget available to strengthen the ability? Was the ability always there, just not used in the right way by the previous management? Because like I say, there were some games we were fucking impressive. MK Dons at home, for example. But then there were games where we were completely and utterly woeful. But then it was, were the right players played? Were the right instructions given? Did we do our homework on the opposition? We definitely didn't do our homework away to Bromley when they won all of those headers against us. There were ways and means. If you can't beat someone in the air, there were ways and means of preventing them from having the opportunities in the air. We didn't prevent those opportunities very well at all. Although when we did play a bit of football, get the ball down and move it around, we played through them quite easily. So you know what I mean? So what about analysing, looking, reading the situations? Dave Hughes does not get to Manchester United and to do any kind of job at Manchester United, especially leading the under-19s. If he was just a coach at the under-19s and somebody else was the leader, then I could understand why people say, why are we giving this coach? But he was managing the under-19s. This is senior football now, but he's been in and around senior football enough to know how to do it. Yeah, I think we could be on to a winner with him now. I really do. But as I say, time will tell. Tuesday is the first real indication of what we're going to look like. And then Saturday at home, pack the parade and really go for it. Thanks for watching. Cheer for anyone as always. Up the county.